is my place, and I am welcome.
Good morning. That song, Ancient Words of Wisdom. Today, I'm going to share some of those ancient words with you. Things are not always what they seem. The first appearance deceives many. The intelligence of a few perceives what has been carefully hidden. By Fridas, I should say. Let's look at two examples. Ouch! Watch out for that prickly cactus. Can't you see how dangerous it is? Just look at those stiletto spines. That large cactus practically screamed out to us, "Don't touch me, hands off." What a worthless plant. It looked to us as if nature had goofed on this one. Well, it certainly looked obvious that those people who had just moved in across the street were going to spoil our friendly neighborhood. When they first arrived, we waved, smiled and waved and a warm hello to them, but they put their heads down and looked the other way. Well, maybe they didn't see us, or maybe they're just shy, we thought. We'll try again. This time we knocked on their door with the idea of introducing ourselves and offering to help with anything they might need. But they never came to the door. Uh-oh, we thought. This looks like trouble. What do you suppose gets us humans, into more misery than anything else? Could it be our tendency to be judgmental? Let's take a second look. You might not have seen it all. That hostile looking cactus that we might look at and think is useless actually contains lots of water, which could save our lives if we were lost in the desert. And that unfriendly, rude couple across the street, it turned out that one of their children had been killed by a hit-and-run driver only weeks before they had to move, and they were understandably overcome with grief. They were actually a wonderful, friendly couple. The scripture John 7:24 states, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment." Judging people and things and situations only by their appearances is always a mistake. But how often do we do it? Things are rarely what they seem. Yet, we can waste so much energy in dealing with what we think they are rather than staying centered and allowing these situations to present us with the good they always contain for us. There's always something to learn. Have you ever judged someone or some situation and then found out that you were completely wrong about it? I know I have. As most of you know, Unity Berry has closed. At first, I felt very sad and upset that we couldn't keep it going. I couldn't help thinking that maybe I could have done more. I second-guessed our decision. It appeared to be such a loss for those attending. But when I thought about it more, I saw that we didn't make that decision lightly. We talked about many factors that led to that decision. And after a time of reflection, I came to realize that nothing stays the same. Things are always changing. It's part of life, isn't it? Now, because Barry is closed, there's been a vacuum created. And we know that the universe abhors a vacuum. So, with faith, I can envision something wonderful is in the works for me and for Barry. How could it not be? For the universe is supporting us in all ways. In my situation, I've started hosting Unity of York Region's meditations and have joined their planning committee. And I do know in my heart that there will be wonderful things happening in Barry as well. Now, many people who quote Jesus saying, "Judge not, lest you be judged," use it to judge others for judging. That can't be what Jesus had in mind in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus was absolutely on target when he taught that we must not judge others. After all, each of us, regardless of appearances, is created by God and has the Spirit of God within. That's Unity's second principle. Our essence is of God, therefore, we are inherently good. So, if we dislike someone, when you think about it, it's not liking God. Now, that's quite a statement, isn't it? Because when we consider some of the strange and even inhumane acts that some individuals commit, it seems ludicrous to suggest that such people are divine at their core. Yet, they are. We can see that whatever a person does or doesn't do in no way changes the fact that he or she is a divine creation. How can they be otherwise? They too were created by God. And because they were, we have to remember that the light of the Christ is within that person, even when it seems to glow so dimly that they don't even see it themselves. But there is a difference, a great difference, between being judgmental and using our good judgment. To acknowledge that the Christ dwells in every individual is using our good judgment. However, it doesn't mean we have to hang around with someone who is dangerous to us, either physically or emotionally. Just as you would get out of the way of a runaway truck, we would also get out of the path of a person who, not recognizing or expressing the Christ within, is destructive. The divine potential is there, to be sure, but until it is recognized by that person and called forth, it's a good idea to steer clear of such a person as much as possible. Angry, mean-spirited people who bask in negativity are as much children of God and have the Christ within just as much as happy, positive, spiritually centered people. Although I must admit that it's easier to be around those that are happy, positive, and spiritually centered. Remember, and this can be a tough one, it's not our job to change them, but to merely see the Christ in them. As Unity minister Eric Butterworth was fond of saying, our job is to set things right, is not to set things right, but to see them right. Observing our thoughts from this perspective, we're not denying the presence of the Christ within someone. We're simply using our power of good judgment to avoid something that's not contributing to our good. There's a difference between being judgmental or using our judgment. No one on a spiritual quest wants to be judgmental of another human being. It causes us to feel a moral superiority that is dangerous territory for any of us. In Charles Fillmore's book, The Revealing Word, he states, judgment is a faculty of the mind which can be used in two ways, from sense perception or spiritual understanding. If its actions be based on sense perception, its conclusions are fallible and often condemnatory. This is being judgmental. If based on understanding, they are safe. This is using good judgment. So there's a good way to know the difference between being judgmental and using our good judgment. Being judgmental is stopping our assessment of people at the appearance level, or as Charles said, based on our sense perception. That superficial level of how they look or act, without going past that to the level of their indwelling Christ. We're using good judgment if we can see past people's actions, no matter how repellent we feel they are. After doing that, we can make a decision about their actions, and that may lead us to putting those people out of our lives. Jesus encouraged us to love one another, to see and love that Christ essence of every person. But he never required us to like the inappropriate behavior of someone. This is our wise judgment when our wise judgment enters into it. There's no one who is not lovable at the divine core, because God is at the center of that core. However, there have been many whose actions are unlikable and unacceptable and downright repugnant. After all, Jesus was constantly reprimanding the scribes and the Pharisees about their pompous and rigid behavior. But he was not being judgmental of them as being less than children of God. Rather, he was using his wisdom and acknowledging their actions as inappropriate and harmful and a bad example for others to follow. There's nothing wrong with choosing not to associate with or accept unlikable behavior, as long as we remember that somewhere within that person, there is still the Christ. If we ignore that commitment and continue to condemn and judge by outer appearances only, we're really only hurting ourselves. For our harsh judgment will return to haunt us because it keeps us from operating from our Christ center, and that restricts our spiritual growth. Excuse me. In Paul Hasselbeck's book, Power Up, he says we all have an innate ability to judge. It's not the ability to judge that is the problem, it's how we use it. He states that the word judgment has gotten a bad rap, and that we can certainly feel much better if we use synonyms for the word, such as wisdom, discernment, evaluation, or appraisal. Yet, we're still judging, aren't we? And that can be a good thing, as long as we're coming from our spiritual understanding of wisdom. Paul goes on to say, judgment or wisdom is the innate ability by which we judge, evaluate, discern, appraise, and apply what is known. How wisely we evaluate, discern, appraise, and apply is is what we base our decisions on. When we're judgmental from our human self, we're not being authentic or true to our divine nature. I have a short video I'd like to share with you now.
It was 36 degrees Celsius outside and the sun could not have shone brighter. But in the Aceitona residence in the town of San Pedro, just south of Manila, you'd never guess what time of the day it was. The heat of the summer could be felt inside the house, alright, but none of the sunlight could get in. In every corner of the house, there was just darkness.
Even if you just want to get some water, you'd have to turn on the light.
It had been that way for years, but that's about to change. Demi Bucas and his sons have come to install lights. Not like the electric bulbs they already have, but ones that are cheap, healthy, and energy efficient.
People in this community used to never see the light of day in their homes, but with a soda bottle, water, and simple tools, they never had to live in darkness anymore.
The technology is amazingly simple. All you have to do is fit a metal sheet around a plastic bottle, fill it with water, add chlorine, bare a hole on the roof, insert the bottle, then seal it, and there you have it, 55 watts of clean and free solar light.
It's the light of life. It's really great to be able to see your house and move around without having to turn on the lights during the day.
The genius behind the idea is social entrepreneur Ilac Diaz. Since the project began over a month ago, solar bottle lights have been installed in close to 1,000 households.
It's becoming something that is becoming the new standard of living here. Why should we be trapped in darkness when we can now have the independence to improve our own households with copyable and such a replicable kind of system?
The system not only provides natural lighting, but it breathes new life to plastic bottles that otherwise would have ended up in dumps. It also aims to create so-called green jobs. Demi earns a little over $1 for every bottle light he installs. Business has been so good that he had to quit his job.
Almost everyone wants to have it. Demand has been so huge that I have to tell others to wait when I run out of materials.
He was also one of the first ones to have solar bottle lights installed in his house, and the savings have been significant.
Before, there were times when we didn't have electricity because we couldn't pay. But with the bottle lights, our electric bill has become more manageable.
If we can use green technologies to save essential pesos, it can go into better things like books, nutrition, and livelihood.
Ilac hopes to be able to light 1 million homes in the Philippines by next year, and in the future, take it to other developing countries as well. A third world solution to third world problems. Barnabilo, CCTV, Manila.
Wasn't that an amazing story? So incredible. Something so simple. Sometimes we can get stuck in the way things are and remain in the dark as well. But when we pay attention, we can tap into our inner wisdom, as this young man did, and brought light to the darkness. This coming week, I ask that you observe your actions. Notice when you're looking at appearances only, and possibly judging someone or something falsely. Get past those thoughts, because they're surely blockers, holding you back on your spiritual quest. They don't belong in your life. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, who recognize all as having the divine essence within them. In conclusion, I'd like to leave you with an affirmation you can use. I use my inner wisdom to see beyond appearances. Now, let us take these thoughts into meditation, beginning with the song In the Silence.
In the silence, I can feel the love. In the silence, I can rise above. In the silence, I can hear the voice. In the silence, I am home. In the silence, I can feel the love. In the silence, I can rise above. In the silence, I can hear the voice. In the silence, I am home. In the silence, I can feel the love. In the silence, I can rise above. In the silence, I can hear the voice. In the silence, I am home. I am home. I am home.
Let's take a deep cleansing breath. And another. Breathing in and out gently. Let all other thoughts now drift away as you relax into this sacred moment. Praying for guidance gives me comfort at times when the path before me does not seem clear. I remember times in my life when I knew intuitively which way to turn, which steps to take, when to move forward, and when to hold back. These memories help me to keep confident and relaxed as I travel new paths and make new choices. I release any worrisome or limiting thoughts. About when guidance may be revealed and what it will be. I remain open and trusting, realizing answers come when I least expect them. I know that what I experience has already been expressed. Uncovered by divine wisdom. As I navigate through this maze of life. I now access the wisdom of my heart as I move into the silence. I am so thankful for the Christ presence within me. I now look for the same presence in everyone else. I use my judgment wisely to see as you see, Lord. If I am faced with actions which I do not like, I understand that it was done by a creation of yours, so that I may turn away with a loving heart. As I prepare to leave this time of meditation, I give thanks for my increasing ability to judge with wisdom, and for all these gifts and blessings bestowed on me that have come my way. I am so, so grateful. And so it is. Amen.
We are now surrounded and enfolded by the pure white light of Spirit. Nothing but good shall come to us, and only good shall go from us. Go forth in peace, radiant love, and abundant good health. Amen.